considering going to law school, or maybe you're already in law school and wondering what that journey is all about. Specifically, what are some realities or happenings of law school that every student comes across, no matter their background? And what can you expect once you're in law school yourself? In today's video, as a lawyer of many years myself, I'll be going over some canon events of a law school student's life. Specifically, I'll be going over 5 of these canon events. There's likely more than 5, but we have to keep these videos digestible, so there's 5 canon events in this video. For those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Pamela Metani. I'm a business lawyer and the founder here at Graphene Business Law, a law firm offering virtual business law services to entrepreneurs and business owners across the province of Ontario, Canada. If you're new to our YouTube channel, go ahead and click subscribe and click like on this video. We post free educational content multiple times a week here on YouTube, whether it's for current law school students, a little bit of LSAT sprinkled in there, LSAT Q&A sprinkled in there, and of course, our primary demographic being free educational content for business owners and entrepreneurs. What gives me the background or experience necessary to post a video on canon events of law school? First of all, I've been steeped in that law school journey thoroughly, I would say, having attended 2 of Canada's best law school. I always go with the saying, so nice, I had to try twice. I completed my first and second year of law school in one school, and then I did 3L at another school. And of course, very well immersed with the law school environment prior to law school itself, having been part of pre-law society and organizations like that, even during my undergrad days at Wellesley in Boston, Massachusetts. Even to this day, as a practicing lawyer, as I mentioned in multiple years, I still have lots of connections that are in law school themselves. So these stories have been proven true time and time and time again. Let's get into it. The first canon event I would say for law school students will be your first midterm. People are going to law school with all sorts of different academic backgrounds. It's one of those programs like med school that you don't need a specific undergrad degree to qualify for law school. There were students in my grade in law school, or at least the starting 1L with the law school I started at, that had backgrounds in music, business, history. Myself, I had 2 majors, philosophy and French, although I initially went to Wellesley for economics, but I stacked and stacked and stacked 3 different big picture programs into my degree, if you will. But the list goes on, right? There were degrees in animal welfare. Anything you could think of, there's a chance that a law school student right now has that background prior to going into law school. And that makes for, well, a lot of good and bad, if you will. But one thing it could contribute to in terms of your law school experience, your canon experience, will be lack of understanding, I'm going to say, as to how law school grading works. For example, in my undergrad years, I did really, really well in philosophy, and part of why I did so well is because the philosophy program, the saying goes, it's a degree in thinking about thinking. So open-mindedness, creative thinking, those faculties of thought are really encouraged. And as much as those faculties of thought I do apply to my practice as a lawyer in law school, I would say it is almost the opposite, most closed-minded regurgitation on the exam possible, at least in most cases. I know some professors are trying to move away from that reality because I'm not really sure who it helps, but big picture, law school, you're going to be given the fact pattern, you're going to need to cite the ratio, right? There are so many videos on this channel about how law school is like math, but it's counterintuitive for it to be math because we're talking about words and human beings and these otherwise complex and hybrid and flexible beings that should attract equally flexible and open-minded thinking. And I'm not saying that, again, you're not going to need those qualities in the practice of law, but in law school, it's, plug in, plug in, plug in. That's the exercise. And that was a really big surprise for me, and I learned the hard way through my 1L midterm. Luckily, I did learn owing to tips and tricks I've shared on this channel, and I can link in the video here as I speak above, but I'll also link in the description box down below. And by the time I ended law school, I was getting handwritten notes from professors congratulating me on achieving the highest grade in that class. But big picture, 1L midterms are a shock situation for everybody. So that's a CANON event. The second CANON event that I would say is the social scene. Depending on what background you're coming from, it's a lot of the law school social scene will be a really, really big surprise to you. Law is a profession, unfortunately, where practitioners do struggle tremendously with mental health. That's not a Pam opinion, that's backed in fact. It is one of the highest, if not the highest, professions with substance abuse and mental health issues and all of those very clear signs of struggle in one's reality, including our realities as legal practitioners. And I think some of those habits, while people can bring them with themselves into law school, I think some people even pick up those habits in law school because there are plenty of opportunities to outlet whatever stress and frustration and anxiety and feelings of not fitting in, whatever of those feelings you're going through. There's unfortunately plenty of opportunities to outlet those feelings in very unhealthy ways in law school. And that can be really, really surprising socially. That's one aspect of the surprising social scene, for example, because, you know, those aren't exactly signs that the movies show, right? Those aren't, you know, that's not the life that many of us imagine for ourselves when we're studying for LSAT until 2 a.m. every day on our, you know, junior or senior year of undergrad. It's just not what I personally had expected prior to going to law school because there's also so much thought and high functionality that's required. But then there's all these vices that can contaminate the social scene of the law school environment. Speaking of contamination, there's plenty of ways for the social scene to be contaminated as well. I really was surprised in my law school journeys, especially with my first law school, that you know, the social mannerisms of many people during the day, as you will, whereas all the unhealthy venting, you know, or much of it happened at nighttime. But during the day, you know, social cliques, catty behavior, things like that, it's just shocking. It was shocking for me. Now it's not as shocking to hear of those law school stories because I've gone through it multiple times. But the first time around, I would definitely classify that as a CANON event, the social scene of law school, for better or worse, right? These are human beings at the end of the day, and you do as you know. So I don't know how much better some of these students knew to do and then chose to do worse, right? It doesn't usually work like that. You do what you know. If you know better, you do better. That's the saying. But still surprising and a CANON event in and of itself. Because although school is one aspect of the law school life, the academics, things like that, it is still what? Human beings sitting in these school desks all day. So it's gonna come with some whoa moment. Third CANON event is gonna be realizing the different backgrounds people come from. There were people in my law school that had struggled to have a hot meal during their life and were determined to do whatever it took to succeed. There were single mothers in my law school of multiple children coming to school commuting hours every day. There were kids in my law school who had a spot guaranteed at whatever law firm they chose owing to mom and daddy's connections. The different backgrounds people come from, learning about that, it almost makes me feel naive for not having thought of some of those backgrounds that could be around me in law school. But you have to understand, from my perspective of merit-based everything, there's not one thing I have, there's not one accomplishment I have that I haven't worked and I sacrificed for. So I was able to identify a lot more with the students of sacrifice, if you will, with students with backgrounds of struggle for many, many, many personal reasons, but maybe we'll save that for another day, or put it on my personal Pamela Metani channel that I can link here as I speak again, and I can put it down in the description box below as well. if you're interested on the more, personal developments, if you will, and not necessarily legal or law school related. But the different backgrounds that people came from in law school were astonishing. And that, of course, contributes to how they behave and how they present themselves as well. There were kids in law school that didn't show up to class once during the semester and then would just come to the exam. There were kids in law school that didn't show up because they didn't care. Some didn't show up because they knew they had a spot guaranteed. D's get degrees. Some didn't show up because their brother or their father or their bestie had attended law school however long ago and they had the best summaries ready to go. So why are they going to show up when they already have the textbook on how to succeed? And some couldn't show up because they were busy working their full-time job. And of course, for all the people that didn't show up, people showed up for all different reasons as well. So that's what I mean, like that list is bordering on infinite in terms of life circumstances and backgrounds that individuals had experienced prior to attending law school. And the realization of all of those different backgrounds makes for a canon event in and of itself. Overall, in the marketplace of thought, of course, it's necessary to have individuals of different backgrounds, but the value or the practicality or the reality of those different backgrounds and their utility in the marketplace of thought doesn't take away from the impact it could have on you as a first-timer experiencing all of this. The fourth canon event is going to be those aha moments again, and you'll notice that there's a lot of human observations in this video, if you will, because again, it's human beings filling up the chairs, human beings in the front of the class teaching, human beings taking the internships and the clubs and all of that. It is lawyers and law students are human beings, just as doctors and medical students, just as electricians and students learning to be electricians. It's human beings, so inherently there's going to be human observations laden throughout this video. But what's another kind of human being we see in the law school setting? Professors. The differences in professor teaching style, that's going to be another canon moment for you, realizing those different teaching styles, because there are some professors that put their all into law school to the point where you wonder if they're living healthy lives outside of law school because there's so much they're dedicating to their craft and to their students. There are professors that are coming into law school as having, their corner office at the 30th floor of some high rise and being senior partners at a law firm somewhere. So when they come, they put that briefcase down, it echoes through the room and there's gravitas to them as individuals. And there's professors that are strictly academic. So in other words, they've stamped their law school, maybe they practice a year or two, but they write papers for a living or they research for a living. And they are so out of touch at this point with how practice works. And there's professors that, don't care. That's not a commentary on law school professors. There's professors at every school anywhere in the world that would exhibit less care than others, right? Those are human traits, but it is still a canon event to go into the setting which we think, or so many of us think, is going to be a utopian setting, finally making or doing right by the effort and sacrifices we've put into life, and we're there. Those are some of the thoughts I had prior to starting law school. But then you start and it's like, whoa, there's a lot of things going on here. Many of which don't have to do with hard work, many of which don't have to do with law, many of which don't have to do with school, even in the law school setting. So the fifth canon event that I'm going to say that's sort of a tie-up to all of these is going to be, coming to terms with different realities that you didn't understand prior to law school, whether that be realities about how to get an internship or realities about how different individuals are landing jobs, or realities about everything we've spoken about in this video, the different backgrounds people are coming from, different backgrounds professors are coming from, not just students, different ways people are behaving. Some resort to like primal behaviors in law school, and some act holier than thou, and some are super humble, nice people, and some are really hardworking individuals, right? And some are really inspiring individuals. Like, those different realities and understanding and observing and capturing them, becoming aware of them, makes for a canon event in and of itself. There's a lot more I could say to this video, but I'll leave this video on canon events for law school students there. If you're trying to get better acquainted with the law school setting, you could probably Google articles on this or Google videos on this as well. And I hope that this video shows up when you Google, you know, what to expect from life as a law school student or canon events for a law school student. And for anything you feel we didn't mention in this video, please leave a question in the comments down below. I love going through your questions. Some of you guys get super private about it and you send me emails on my website, on my law firm's website, info@graphenebusinesslaw.ca, and others just straight up leave comments in the video down below. But leaving the comments is a really nice touch, I think, because if you're thinking about something, I guarantee you somebody else is as well. And of course, it guarantees that I'm gonna see your comment and give you, you know, respond on the spot. And of course, if there's more canon events or you'd like a part 2 to this video or something like that, leave a comment about that down below as well, because I assure you, for every of the 5 events we mentioned in this video, there's literally like 50 others out there in the world. And such is human experience, that those are things, you know, if I was able to experience them twice over and my friends years after I attended law school experienced them, that's part of the human experience in law school. So I'm sure there'll be some overlap there as well and something for you to learn from. Thank you so much if you've made it this far along in the video. I really, you know, I appreciate all the support. And don't forget to click like and subscribe on this video. It helps a lot with the algorithm and we can keep the honest talks going. Because let's face it, where else are you Googling all these law school insights and you're getting a lawyer give you like the most honest, detailed observations possible of the real world law school experience? Thank you for watching.